Welcome to the Heart of Giving. As you know, this program is for the nonprofits in the community. Today we have a very special program. We have a gentleman who's been with us before. However, it is Darick Simpson, I think you know that name, who is the Executive Director of the Long Beach Community Action Partnership. And it's through this partnership that we have Access Television. This program is part of the Community Action Partnership. Darick Simpson is here with us today, who is outstanding in what he does. He has been with the community for many, many years in different positions, and all of them have been successful. He is in charge here of many, many programs. And I'm going to ask him to tell us exactly what this Community Action Partnership is before we get into Darick's story. Because Darick's story is something that we all should learn from and feel strong from. And Darick, we're glad to have you with us today.
Thank you for asking.
Thank
it's
you.
Always a pleasure.
Tell me what you do here. I've loused it up about 4 times trying to get it right to say the exact words for you. But you are Community Action Partnership. What is that?
Yes. Long Beach Community Action Partnership is part of a network of community action agencies. There's 1,100 of us around the United States. So it all came, actually this year is the 50th anniversary.
And what is it?
It's an agency that helps families move from poverty to self-sufficiency.
Okay.
And around the United States, we all address poverty in unique ways, unique to the actual needs of that particular community. Head Start, Community Action, or CSBG, and the Job Corps programs all came out of the Economics Opportunity Act of 1964. So our particular agency has been in existence since 1979, I believe it is, and I've been here for 8 years. So in my time, when I took it over, I had to look at what programs we were offering, what programs were needed in the community, because I didn't want to compete with other nonprofits that were doing a good job, and then try to tailor our services and programs to the needs that I thought we could best serve.
And what do you do to do that?
Well, we address it in several ways. We have youth programs, which are run by Maeve Milstead, and that includes everything from running 5 RAP sites at the 5 different school sites. That's the after-school program. As a contractor with Long Beach Unified School District. We also run after-school programs at Villages at Cabrillo for families over there. And then we have a teen program called the Leadership Academy Mentoring Program, which was a predecessor to us actually getting PadNet, because we were involved in digital media arts, teaching teens about video production and music production and silk screening.
But they don't know what PadNet is.
PadNet is the Public Access Digital Network.
Okay.
And thank you for reminding me.
Yeah,
I just
assumed
now,
that's right. Everybody
because,
knows
because I'm doing this so much. But yes, we were privileged to be able to submit a grant request to the Long Beach Community Foundation, and they then passed it on to the Knight Foundation. And we, based on the premise of us receiving an award for actual operation dollars to operate public access TV, the City Council approved the release of the PEG funds, Public Education Government Funds, that all of us who have cable TV in Long Beach pay a portion of our bill into that pot. And so our dilemma was in Long Beach as a city, and in many cities throughout the state of California, when legislation changed, it said you could no longer, that the cable service providers were no longer required to cover the operational cost of their local public access operations. They said, oh, wow, that's great news. That's a couple $100,000 a year we could save in our budget. So they cut it. Across the state, like 50 or so.
And so here you are.
Yeah, and so because we were able to find a way to get that fund back through a grant to launch this, the city's like, wow, with your reputation, Darick, with the strength of your agency, with the proposal that you've written, if you get that operational dollar, we'll release the capital funds, the PEG funds, and that's how PadNet came to life. Our ongoing dilemma, however, is that how do we continue to raise those operational dollars to pay for staff, and so that's where we are today.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you've established a monument here.
Yes,
Because
yes.
on this corner of Spring and Long Beach
Boulevard,
Boulevard,
yes.
you have a farm out
Yes,
here,
yes.
and this is run by students,
Well,
teens?
it was launched as a result of a green initiative project that we
Okay.
received through the Workforce Investment Board.
But
And
it's for youth.
yes, it's youth help. Our master farmer is Kelly Johnson, and Jesse, the farmer, kind of is the expert out there.
Okay.
But we have teens that help keep it weeded and
Very
keep
good.
it nurtured. And it's really, these programs that I mentioned are our smallest programs. Our largest program is our utility assistance program, where we people come in with a utility bill, $50 or $500, and once a year, with proof of income, proof of residence, and that bill, we can pay that bill once a year. And so we've helped over 40,000 households and paid over $11 million in utility
Wow.
bills.
That's
And
amazing.
since 2010, I believe it is.
And you also have like classes for students in music,
Yes.
in filming,
Yes.
television.
Yes. Bobby, who's directing this show, is, for instance, our content expert in video production. So we've basically found ways to leverage different funds to make the best of environments for youth. My concept was, if I was a community action agency, let's say like my colleagues in Merced or Sonoma, maybe the programs that I would do for youth would be relevant to the wine industry or to agriculture, et cetera. But my thought was, if we're in the entertainment capital of the world,
That's
why
right.
not focus on
Good.
job skills that would lend themselves best to this particular economy? And so I thought learning
prepare
video
them.
production and how to edit, how to do what these young people are doing here today on this show would be something that could lead to a job in the industry, not to mention augment what's offered by Long Beach City College and Cal State Long Beach, so that we could ideally eventually work very closely with them so that students have yet another lab, so
Yes.
to speak,
Very
to
good.
do what they do.
Oh, Darick, that's wonderful.
Yes.
And the reason that I wanted to start with that, because I wanted people to know what you were doing
Yes.
for our community in the nonprofit
Right,
world.
right.
But the reason that you're here today is because I think you know, and many people do know, that we almost lost you.
Yes.
We almost lost you
Scary
last year.
thought, yeah.
And what you have gone through in order to maintain the strength that you have, to have you here today, looking as though nothing is wrong at all, is a journey that maybe you want to share.
Yes.
And so would you mind
No.
telling us a little bit about what you've gone through in how many months the last year?
Well, it all began really in October of 2013. Yes, like any other day, I was working long hours, and I happened to, go to the restroom. Not to be totally graphic, but when I would urinate, I would notice. I looked down, and it's like, wow, where'd all the red come from? And then I did the la 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 la, it can't be happening to me type thing in my head, like, this will go away, this will go away. It didn't go away. And as the night went on, it turned into blood clots, that I was passing. And at that point, I really freaked out in my head, but I still didn't go to the doctor until the next morning. I went to urgent care. It was a Saturday morning. And sure enough, I go in and they give you the proverbial cup and say, go in the room and put it in the window. And when I go in the room and put it in the window, it comes out like this. And I'm like, how can that be? All night I've been like freaking out with blood, and now it's like clear, And so it says, don't worry, Mrs. Simpson. If it's in your urine stream, we'll see it. And then I asked, well, what could this be? Because this was all new to me. I'm that guy who everyone comes to for strength and comes to for answers and ideas, whether it be here at work as executive director or in the community or at home. So all of a sudden now I'm looking to someone else. So that was the immediate role reversal that I was the one
Get used
seeking.
to.
Yeah, seeking that. And that was an adjustment, and I didn't realize how much until later on in the process.
Because you've always been in charge.
Right, right. In charge of my own life, in charge of my own destiny, I would
Your
like
own
to
health,
believe. Yes, all of that. And even played in a basketball league with youngsters half my age and competed, up until 3 years ago. And I'm, 56 years old now. So, wow, that's all this gray hair now, I guess. Huh? But so the journey then went to my meeting with my doctor the following week, and when I went in to talk to her and told her why I was there, she was normally a very chatty, happy, you know, how you been, getting on my case about working too much and saying how this job was going to be, you know, the end of me if I didn't watch myself. And when I started to tell her what happened, her whole disposition changed. And she's like, you need to go downstairs and you need to get this blood test and you need to get this urine test and you need to do this and you need to get an ultrasound. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? You know, because I still don't really know what this could be. And so I did all of that, and she scheduled a appointment with a urologist. And so that occurred, but it occurred like almost 2.5 weeks later. So from the moment that I had all the tests done until I saw that person, I had to live with the thought of the possibility that this could be cancer. And that was a heavy burden, because now we're into November, and I believe I saw him right before Thanksgiving of 2013. And to know that the C word, as I was calling it, you know, to know that that was something that I was facing that I never thought, you know, that would happen to me, type thing. And then to go through the Thanksgiving holiday, not telling anyone. I didn't tell my daughter who's here, or my, you know, I didn't tell the staff here. I didn't tell anyone. I just kept it all to myself, which was a heavy burden to carry. And so one of the things, as I tell you this story, I say to anyone who's watching, is that get somebody to share it with, you know, because it took a toll on me, and you just got to find that one person.
Holding it inside.
Yeah, you can't, you know, you just can't, no matter how strong. I mean, I'm 6'4" and 270, and I played football and won awards and all of that, but this humbled me. This made me a very humble man. And so then we go into December, and the first part of December, it was confirmed that it was cancer of my bladder and that I had 2 tumors. One was so large that the camera couldn't even get a wide shot of it that they put inside of me, and the other was smaller. And they scheduled surgery, and I said I just wanted to do it, you know, as soon as he could. And I shouldn't have said that, because it was New Year's Eve. So New Year's Eve, I'm in the hospital, and I was supposed to do outpatient surgery. And I woke up from the surgery in the hospital, and I woke up hearing voices. But I just assumed, because I was on a very strong drug, because as soon as they would inject it in my IV, I would get nauseous, and then I was out. And that cycle went on a scale of 1 to 10 happy faces. How do you feel? And I'm like, 8. I mean, I didn't know. I didn't realize 8 meant that your arm was falling off. I just thought, you know, you should just, you know, say something that it wasn't extreme, but it wasn't easy. So by the next morning, I started asking, you know, this is so strong, I'm hearing voices, and that concerns me. And it's like, oh no, it's the psych ward on the other side of the wall, and you hear people screaming in the psych ward. And I'm thinking, oh my God. So that was a relief. Yeah, that was a relief that I at least wasn't losing my mind, but I still didn't understand why I was in the hospital. So I eventually was released within that day, and found out the next day that they, in fact, did not get both tumors out, that one was still in me. And that was a big surprise. And the one that was in me was the biggest one. And evidently they had tried to get it out, and they found it to be too dangerous because of my prostate, et cetera. And so I went back to the doctor on the 13th, and he says, we're going to try it again. And we're going to go in and have someone press on your abdomen, and we're going to try to reach it that way, to press down on the top of the abdomen to make it easier. And they tried it again on January 22nd, was my second surgery. And I woke up from that one in outpatient, as was expected, and they says, you know, Mr. Simpson, sorry to tell you that we couldn't get it out.
Still didn't get it.
That we almost lost you. It took about 4 to 5 minutes to stop the bleeding. And I'm like, whoa, what do you mean? I mean, this was outpatient. This was all in my head, a simple matter of getting this over with and getting back to work. And it was in that moment that I started that whole life flashing before your eyes thing. You know, I started seeing that maybe did I say goodbye to my daughter? Did I say goodbye to my son? Did I, you know, all these thoughts run through your mind, because, you know, you just go in thinking it'll all be okay, and it wasn't. And so from that then, we found out that maybe they couldn't get it out surgically, and that the doctor referred me to an oncologist. And the thought then was that I had three options. He said I could either have it surgically removed, but they couldn't guarantee me how much of my bladder, or I could have radiation, which they felt would be too strong and scarring, or I could have chemo. And I kept waiting for the fourth one because those three weren't things
so
that
good.
yeah, it wasn't what I wanted to hear, because my mom passed of cancer, and of her 8 siblings, all but 2, I believe, died of cancer. So I lived through cancer in my family, and I was terrified, frankly speaking, inside, because I just thought, okay, this is something that now is my destiny, because none of that was viable. The oncologist, however, said that chemo would go into my body, but it wouldn't get inside the bladder, you know, to really attack the tumor as they had hoped. And so he suggested I go to another set of surgeons. My insurance denied the first set, and I'm like, you know, first of all, your surgeon tried twice and didn't get it. Your oncologist told me to go, so you guys just get it together. And mind you, now I'm into February time frame.
Wow.
So now I've gone from October to February with the thought that I have cancer and no resolution.
Yeah.
And that's
Darick,
powerful.
Time is going so fast here. I want to be sure that we hear the whole story.
Sure.
So I just wanted to remind you that.
Okay. Bottom line was that the third surgery occurred on March the 5th, and as a result of that surgery, the Dr. Iannici, I'll say his name, saved me, because when I went in there, he asked me what was the problem and why I was there, as he looked at my folder, and I couldn't stop crying for like 5 minutes. It was like the weight of it all, because I knew that was the last stop.
Yeah.
But thanks to him, they got it all out, and I'm cancer-free. And then I went for 6 follow-up weekly sessions, and it all worked out.
Did you have any radiation or chemotherapy?
I didn't have to have any of that. They used, interestingly enough, a strand, he said, of tuberculosis that they give people in third world countries. And they put an IV in me, and that evidently triggers your immune system to attack. And as a result, it attacked whatever residual cells, I guess I'm not a physician, but that's my layman's interpretation. And that was a process. So every 3 months now, for the next 3 years, I have to go in for, you know, these observations, and then, you know, go forward.
Well, you know, the thing when we talked before, the thing that struck me was how you, within yourself, got through what you were, because as you say, you become so humbled at the thought that you had it in the first place. But tell us just your thinking through this.
Yeah.
And what was the strength that brought you through this?
Well, the strength that got me through it was prayer. You know, I was born and raised Catholic in Mobile, Alabama, which was an anomaly for an African American and on the Gulf Coast. But it was prayer. It was that moment that I had to say, if ever I believed in what I've been professing, this was that time. And it was the people, the close group around me that I allowed to know what was going on, that was supportive of me and trying to keep me positive. And a good friend of mine, Thomas Dawson, who helped me launch the music program here of LAMP, is also a member of the Commodores, and he helped me musically, because it got to the point where my doctor referred me to a psychiatrist because she could see the depression. I couldn't tell it. I just thought I was dealing with life. But it was that combination of writing prolifically as a creative writer, as you know I am. It was the prayer. It was the close-knit group of friends. It was my granddaughters coming over with unconditional love at 6 years old and 2 years old, jumping on my lap, wondering what that big bag was hanging off me. And, you know, I had to kind of just eventually tell them, because I had to go through like 3 different catheter bags, you know, 3 different surgeries every time. So at first I was trying to hide it from them, and then I'm like, you know what, this is just how it is. So it was that combination of love and prayer and being creative that got me through it.
Well, I know that you've written books and you've written poems, and you think very deeply, and I know that facing something like this, you probably be delving into yourself even deeper than most people.
Yes.
Because you're starting out with such strength and such a aggressive feeling towards life and taking things and making things work and working with people, and all of a sudden you can't do any of this.
Right, right. I mean, to be home for 3 months was never something I had done before. I mean, I could go out, but I couldn't go far. I didn't have much of an energy level, and it was just, it was humbling to stand there in front of the mirror with a catheter bag. It was humbling to know that I couldn't take care of myself some days, and my daughter was there to help me. It was humbling to know that I almost died and I wasn't in a meaningful relationship with anyone, you know, to share that experience.
That's right.
And I was going to the doctors by myself, and I learned that lesson. If anyone's listening, when you're facing a crisis like this, take somebody into that doctor's office with you, because when they hit you with that news, you're so taken aback by that reality that it's now you. It's not someone else, it's not a friend or a relative, it's you that they're talking about. And the irony was, I had a friend, we met in September to have coffee, and we were both just catching up after a year or so of not seeing each other. We met at that same coffee shop in January or so, maybe late January, early February. She was talking about her cancer and how she had been given 6 months to live. I was talking about my cancer and how I was trying to fight through it. At that point, I didn't know how. In just that little time, just months, 2 lives were upside down. And I felt like a wimp talking about mine when she started telling me she only had months that they had given her. You know, I'm glad to say I heard through a text that she's maybe back at work, I'm not sure. So maybe she was blessed to get over it, or maybe she's just a soldier like that fighting through it, and she's strong enough for that. Yeah.
Well, I know that when we talked before, that going through this wasn't all easy, not just physically for you, but in your disappointment with people along the way. And maybe not getting straight answers, or not getting the support that you needed in what was going to happen next. And how do you overcome that? Because the people that you're dealing with know a lot more about cancer than you do.
Yeah, I mean, if I listen to that first surgeon, first of all, to go 48 hours, I'm not a doctor, but if anyone out there went 48 hours out of a surgery and they hadn't heard from their doctor to know that that the surgery, first of all, wasn't a success as you thought, let alone that was the first communication with that doctor. That was my first wake-up call. That, well,
so for 2 days you were just in the dark.
I was in the dark. Secondly, for that particular surgeon to not actually be able to get the tumors out, but another surgeon was. And had I listened to the first one or listened to the oncologist, I would have been having chemo. Unfortunately, the oncologist said no. So I learned that you have to be an advocate for yourself.
And I think that they do say that in very serious cases such as this, having different people saying something is good rather than just one.
Yes, it is, and that's where I learned, you know, as I said, I learned to be an advocate for yourself. Yes, they're doctors, or yes, they're attorneys, or whoever the expert is, but they aren't God. They don't know it all, and you owe it to yourself when you're facing life and death situations to get that second opinion, because maybe, just maybe, there's a chance that there's a different way, you know, to approach it. And I didn't talk about this. The staff here didn't know until 2 weeks prior to me leaving. And my dad didn't know in Alabama until a week after the surgery, along with my sisters. I kept it to myself. And so I feel like you really have to have, not only be an advocate for yourself, but have someone there that you can share it with.
Absolutely.
And once I shared, I started to realize, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this show, because I realized it started to impact other lives in a way that I didn't expect. Guys who think they're big, strong, tough guys, you know, started to say, wow, maybe I need to go get that checkup because I was noticing this or that. And so I realized that maybe if I share my story, if I can maybe be the impetus for someone to go and take a second look, or to take a sign seriously and not take for granted that that little sign, whether it be blood, whether it be a cough, whether it be a pain or whatever, especially when you get along in life, don't take those things for granted, because something small, that larger tumor had been there for months, if not years. And I'm sure I saw some sort of sign and ignored it because I didn't want to believe it. And it almost was the reason that I lost my life. And so I take that very seriously. And now that I'm back, I came back what I'd like to feel on my own terms. That there's some people I want to deal with and some I don't. There's some things I want to do and some things I don't. I mean, I look at life with a different sense of urgency now in that regard.
And you feel closer to your family.
I do. I do. I think my son and daughter, I have twins. Lauren lives here, and Austin is in Alabama, my hometown of Mobile. You know, and I have 3 granddaughters, and it just makes me want. I taught Chloe, my oldest granddaughter, how to ride her bicycle last weekend.
Oh, what a joy!
And that's a memory she'll have the rest of her life. You know, Grandpa. So I realize that it's moments like that, you know, that are priceless, and I can't take moments like that for granted. I can't take for granted that PatNet is here and the people who are behind these cameras and working this floor. If I took a different route, it wouldn't be here. Maybe they wouldn't have this opportunity to learn something that they really feel strongly about it.
That's right.
So every morning I wake up and I hear birds outside, or last night there was a very full, beautiful moon. It's the simple things in life that make life big to me now.
That's right.
And that's the way I walk, with my eyes and heart wide open.
Well, Darick, this probably has not been easy for you, but I knew that your testimony and your thoughts about yourself and going through this and would help somebody, somebody that's watching, to say, you know, maybe I better do something that I don't want to face. Yes. And you faced it.
I did.
And, you know, it's been since last October, and I think we've got to look around and find you a really good significant other so that you can share with.
Well, fortunately, I think I'm on that path already.
Oh, are
so,
you? Okay, shoot. Well,
so now you'll get me in trouble if you do that.
Okay, I won't do that.
But thank you for the offer.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you very much for watching. And this was a special time and a special message from Darick, who probably wasn't real comfortable doing this, but did it for us. And I thank him for that. We'll see you again.